Welcome back. As you can see, this is going to be another build video because we got a family waiting on an empty lot. I know today's not a normal day that we post videos, but this Bellamy family was essentially next up on my Adiran playthrough, and I did my best to finagle it into the ABC challenge, which, let's be honest, the ABC challenge was my way of like Trojan horsing. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. It was like Trojan horse, like, oh, I have to build all these lots. Oh no, actually I need to build them anyways. But if I lie to myself and say it's part of a challenge, maybe I'll feel better about building them. But yeah, this letter did not work in any way, shape, or form with the letters that I have left. And I could have held on to it for a rainy day, but whatever, you're getting an extra video today. So this is the Bellamy family. We have a few of them, obviously, but this particular Bellamy family, they're kind of the unofficial leaders in Tenby. Tenby is a village that's basically inside an enchanted forest on the borders of Adiran. That was my doorbell. Sorry about that. I could start over and be professional, but we know I don't do that here. Anyways, so Tenby is essentially this little village. I've mentioned it many times before, but it's outside of Adiran. These people escaped Adiran during the war, were hidden, everybody thought they were dead, and spoiler alert, they're alive, and now everybody knows. So we have Sia Kenton, who is now Sia Bellamy. She was actually formerly the crown princess. She was pregnant when this all kind of went down, and so when she escaped, she actually had her son with Alwyn Kenton, who was a Kenton prince set to inherit the crown after Cadfael. And her son is Taliesin. Obviously, Alwyn died before Taliesin was even born, and she really didn't know how to raise him. Like, is he a prince? Do we just, like, act like he's a regular kid? Like, it was difficult for her to really even put her head around what to do next. Then we have Severin Bellamy, who was married to Charlemagne Bellamy, who is now Charlemagne Hartman. He feels very bad about leaving his wife behind. It wasn't really a choice, per se. It was just, things were chaotic, and a lot of people got separated. A lot of things happened. Like, I try to keep it true to life in terms of war. Like, you don't always get to keep your family together. Maybe you're all imprisoned, but you're kept in different places, and you can escape, but you can't get either, you know, that kind of thing. So he had his son with him, Laurent, who is brother to Adelard. And I'm mentioning these names because if you're on Tumblr, you've probably seen that, the Hartman family, but he didn't know that his wife was actually pregnant at the time this all went down as well. So she ended up having Adelard after, kind of during the rebellion, but she became indentured. She's now free, so that's good, but it definitely put everybody in an awkward position once everyone was discovered to be alive in Tenby, because no one in Tenby expected to see their families again. They just didn't think that it would be a possibility, and at the same time, obviously no one thought that they were alive. Also, I'm really annoyed that the Rubes were doing this. So it was just kind of awkward. Basically, everyone's kind of agreed to kind of sweep it under the rug in terms of if you got remarried thinking your spouse was dead, like, that's fair. So they remarried, or they didn't remarry, they got married to each other thinking they were both widowed at that point, because he thought Charlemagne was either dead or he was never going to see her again, so might as well be dead. And so they had Emerante and Aurelian together. And yeah, they are unofficially in charge of the little village, just because obviously Sia was the crown princess. People knew about her. She was very much the Diana of Gallived. People loved and adored her. She was, you know, she is a good ruler. She puts her people before herself. And she very quickly realized, well, I'm going to have to get married, and whoever I marry is basically going to become the de facto leader. Like, that's just kind of what's going to happen, whether I want it to or not. And it wasn't so much that she wanted power, she just wanted to take care of everybody. So she thought about it, and she basically said, hey, Severin, you know what, we kind of need to get married for the good of the community. And they did, and it's worked out for them. I think they were both very apprehensive. But they've made a good life for each other, or with each other. And so far, things are turning out okay. It'll be interesting because Arndt Blumenthal's wife, Bernique, basically, her suggestion to kind of deal with this, because Taliesin's main kind of existence. He's a problem for Arndt because he did not give up his rights to the land that Adirn is now on. Adirn used to be Gallagud. The kingdom was torn apart and recreated by Arndt Blumenthal as Adirn. Well, technically, Taliesin never gave up his rights to that land. His older brother, Cledwyn, and his sister Diega both did, but he did not. So, in theory, everything can be plunged back into chaos again, and everyone's really worried about that. Like, they don't want that to happen. No one does. And so, but they also know, people are people. Like, how do we make this right so that everybody's cool with it? And the solution that Bernique suggested was, well, why don't we make Taliesin part of the family, kind of thing? Like, arrange a marriage between him and one of our daughters, and then he'll kind of run Tenby. And that's kind of where they're left with. In terms of the story, Taliesin has agreed to that arrangement. I've decided what's going to happen is he's going to become an archduke. And so in this little universe that I've made, an archduke is basically someone who's a leader of an area that's not really large enough or prosperous enough to really be a kingdom. And no one would really respect him if they tried to call themselves a king, kind of thing. But they might be on land that is extremely valuable, or land that has, like, historical significance that's respected for that. And so in this case, Tenby is a magical frickin' forest. So it has that going for it. So he's going to be basically, and the other thing with archdukes is they do kind of need to have, like, a patron kingdom that recognizes them, just to kind of, that's their backup, because most archdukedoms do not have, like, an army of their own, kind of thing, so they can't defend themselves. So Adirn would be the patron to Tenby. Taliesin would become an archduke. That's kind of how they're trying to play this, so that nobody has to die, because everyone's kind of tired. Like, they're like, we went through a lot. Even Arndt, who started it all, was like, yeah, it was a bit much. Let's all calm down. And so yeah, that's kind of where the story is at. I like talking about the story here just because a lot of my storytelling happens on the fly, but also it just doesn't really get fleshed out so much in Tumblr because I'm just telling little stories. That was the whole purpose of it. It's just little stories. It's kind of like a book of folklore. Like, you get bits and pieces here and there, but it's still fun to talk about. I like storytelling, obviously, so. I'm just kind of building the fencing. I couldn't do the shape that I wanted without doing some kind of weird cutouts and things, but I think it turned out okay. This lot was actually really challenging for me to build because I wanted to get a little bit out of my comfort zone, so I looked up basically fantasy builds, or fantasy-inspired builds, and I struggled a lot with windows and things like that, like, just because I didn't want it to look quite so samey. I want Adirn and Tenby to look a little bit different, but similar, because Tenby is basically a bunch of refugees from Adirn. So the buildings should be similar in style, but they also have different materials available to them. A lot of these buildings were also built using magical means, because obviously there was nothing here, and they had nothing, and it was cold, and they needed shelter, and they had a head witch with them, and Antha probably put a little elbow grease into it and built them some homes, so they need to look kind of odd. Because Antha was not an architect by any means. She was the head good witch. So that was kind of where I was going here. I'm still not sure if I like the two roofs hanging over where they're like, the wall underneath them's 4 tiles, but the roofs are 5. I'm not sure if I'm going to accept that forever or not, but I like it. The little, like, columns where they jut out further, like, that was, the inspiration photo had that. I'm also not sure if I like that, but I'm leaving it for now and see if it grows on me. Of course, I had to do the Tudor brick with the diapering, and then I went ham when it came to these, I can't remember which Sims 4 packet, Get to Work. Like, I went ham on these Tudor walls, and I regret nothing. Like, it looks really cool. I don't take the time a lot of builds, I just kind of put one wallpaper and just be done with it. But I kind of wanted it to, like I said, to look off, to look a little like it was not built by someone who knew what they were doing, but they did their very best. Because a lot of Tudor buildings, this timbering is just very, it's intricate, and it's not where you would think it would go, and it probably, there's logic behind it, but I don't know what that logic is, so I just wanted to have fun with it, and that's what I did. Like I said, you're getting a bonus video because if I saved this, it would not have, my schedule, I plan it out a month ahead of time, and I've already planned out October just because things are going on, and so I'm like, this wouldn't come out till November. Like, no, I'm just gonna post it. So I hope you enjoyed the bonus content as I slowly build out 10B. I can't believe that I'm fairly confident I'm gonna finish round 1. I didn't think I was gonna do it. Like, this is a very big neighborhood, and no one said anything, but like, I'm always self-conscious and like, oh boy, you finished 1 round. I don't think you understand. There's like 40 families, and I keep remembering Sims, and I'm like, where is the Sim? Are they in the neighborhood? So I might actually end up having to add a couple households at the end, because I'm keeping a running list of like, is this Sim somewhere and I just forgot? I don't think they are, but I'm just gonna finish the ones that I have on my round list, and obviously if they don't turn up by then, I forgot to create them. Hey, there's 250 Sims. It was a lot. So I'm hoping that it's not too many. So far I think it's just 3, and I think that I've actually created some of them, and they're just, I forgot that they're in a household that's mixed, because my round list is just 1 surname. So like, for example, this household is the Bellamy household, but technically Taliesin is a Kenton, so it's the Bellamy Kenton household, but I'm not going to do that. That's too much effort. So I'm hoping the missing Sims are just buried somewhere within a household like that. I wasn't going to decorate too much, but then I needed some barrels, because that inspiration photo had some barrels, and I was like, alright, I'll just grab some barrels. But then I started seeing other things. I'm like, well, maybe I want a wagon here. Maybe I want them to have a donkey. What am I going to do with the backyard? And this is how it happens. This is how this whole channel started, is me just being an over-decorating monster. And I've been pretty good, mostly because my focus has been actually finishing playing through the round, making sure everybody has a frickin' house. Because then I can go back and I can decorate to my little heart's content whenever I feel like it, but, which probably is going to happen. Just getting it done was the most important thing. And now that I'm like in the home stretch, I feel myself being like, well, I can be a little bit more lenient. I can spend 5 hours decorating this yard. I don't think I spent that long. I think I spent, I want to say 2 hours total on this lot. Maybe 3. I don't really know. Because instead of cutting footage, a lot of times, like, I'll record me going through the catalog for a while, and I'll see it's been, 15-ish minutes or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just pause the recording and keep going. And so that's how I trick myself. And I don't realize how long I spend on these, which is probably for the best, because if I did, I think I would choke. Just being honest. I'm so glad I'm feeling better, though, because seriously, I'm really happy that I got my sinus surgery, and I feel so thankful that I was able to do that, because it's been a problem my entire life. And I can tell the difference. Like, I can breathe. I don't wake up in pain in that way. Like, I had sinus pain every single day when I woke up. My face was swollen and tender. I sounded awful. It just didn't feel good. Also, there's our little Kinnereth bird. I've just started adding them everywhere. Once that popped in my head that was like an actual god that's just hanging around a 10B, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's just lean in. But yeah, so I'm really glad that I did it, but it has definitely taken a toll on me in terms of recovering. I don't have a lot of patience for recovery, and I knew this, but I didn't realize just quite how bad it was. I made myself very sick again. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not in a video, but I made myself very sick about a week after. I went for my little debridement. It was fine. I was sick of not doing anything, and so I pushed myself for a couple days, and then I just got so, like, the pressure in my head was very painful, and I was just like, I'm going to die. That's what this feels like. And so went to the emergency room. They put me on a whole bunch of stuff, and they're like, please, for the love of God, calm down. I'm like, alright, I'll try. But yeah, so it's been a lot, and it's nice to just kind of get back to my regular what I'm doing. I don't know where I was going with that. I have a lot of thoughts about it. I also, in general, I'm just like really kind of frustrated that I am a full-grown adult, and like my life could have been better in so many ways if I was able to have this surgery years ago, because I've needed it my whole life, but our healthcare system is garbage. So yeah, that whole free market thing, how's that working out for everybody? It's not working out great here. I spent years being sick for no reason. No reason. Not bitter at all. But anyways, I'm probably going to cut here in a second and then we'll jump to the final product. But you can see I'm putting a lot of wagons, a lot of things, because they're going to have a lot of visitors, because obviously since they're the leaders and now 10B is kind of open, Quinn is definitely going to bring people to their lot. Like, here, found him. Because I see Quinn as like an unofficial border guard, and since he's a werewolf, he's able to lead people in and out of 10B freely. So he has a lot of power in that way. So here we are. This is kind of their final little lot. I love those little hanging dragons. I just think it's so cute. C actually had a pet dragon for a while, and so I thought it was fun. But yeah, we've got this little area where people can like stop, visit. We've got some cows. We've got a horse, because everybody's equestrian in this household, I swear. Little green area, some trees, a fountain, and yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. So let me know what you think of the lot. Definitely give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.